on Storyboard, we speak to PeighTerry Peigh, Managing Director and Senior Vice President of Interpublic Group, on the backdrop of the new reality study conducted by IPG and Cogito Consulting. What went behind Make in India and its installations in Mumbai, a walkthrough with V. Sunil, and Himalaya launches a new neem face wash specifically targeted at men. Hello and welcome to Storyboard. This is Shivani Gharat. Consumer preferences are ever evolving, and that's ground reality for marketers. For the past 6 years, IPG along with FCB Ulka's Cogito Consulting has been conducting a research that looks at the changing nature of consumer decision making. They call it the new realities. What are these new realities and how do they impact the agency business? We find out as Storyboard editor Anant Rangaswamy speaks to PeighTerry Peigh, Managing Director and Senior Vice President of Interpublic Group. He shares how with the emergence of new and engaging media channels, the sources of product information has changed. Has the way in which a consumer evaluates a product and eventually makes his decision change too? Consumers are demanding more trust, says PeighTerry. How? Let's hear the conversation.
PeighTerry, thank you for talking to us. So tell me, what are the new realities?
New Realities is a research study that we do around the world in 5 countries, including India, where we go out and try to assess how consumer decision making is changing. And we've been doing this now for 6 years and actually 4 years in India. So what's interesting is that we have multiple phases of research that show us how the consumer in India has changed in terms of processing information, enjoying information, advocating information and for brands, and increasingly having a kind of new look at trust and the importance of trust when it comes to making a product decision. So
tell me, all these new changes in the consumer mindset, what are the changes that are forced on the agency business by this change in mindset?
That's a good question. Increasingly, and this is obviously no surprise, social media is becoming increasingly important. As we see in the New Realities research, consumers are desperately looking for trusted sources of information on brands. They're questioning what comes from manufacturers in the traditional advertising sense. They're looking for information from their friends and families. We know that's a very important channel for them. So it's increasingly important for us to kind of stimulate those conversations with advocates, brand advocates as we call them, and to execute the right kind of social media that allows people who like our product to raise their hand and tell others how much they like the product. Also, I think it just, again, with the interest and the growing interest in trusted sources of information, it's important upon us to work closely with clients to be sure that everything that we say has a very, very high level of trust, because the research is showing that consumers in India in particular are demanding much more in terms of trust when it comes to information that is provided to them. So
what is the role that traditional advertising plays in the marketing world of today?
Well, a big part of that is social media. I mean, right. we obviously execute traditional advertising. We do a lot of TV and radio, and no surprise there. But increasingly, we're working with clients to stimulate conversations by consumers that are in support of our product. Public relations has a role. Experiential has a role. Increasingly, our clients are going to market with us in 10, 12, sometimes 15 different marketing channels, whereas 10, 15 years ago it was just a couple of channels. So we're having to work across multiple channels, and increasingly we're having to really coordinate well amongst those channels. When it was just
who does this coordination? Is it the marketer's job or your job?
It's increasingly we're seeing clients come to us. This is what I do for a living. We're having clients come to us at the holding company and say, "I want you guys to coordinate and link all the channels." Some clients like to do it themselves, but I think they realize that it's not a simple task from their side. Often they don't have people that have the right kind of experience across a number of marketing channels to do that kind of integration, and also they don't have the time. By asking us to do the integration, we're able to do it and instill in each of the agencies a consistent messaging platform, consistent strategy, consistent policies, consistent billing, consistent contract, which makes the process much easier. Still, some clients like to do that, but we're finding more and more clients coming to us and say, "I'm giving you guys 15 channels, you guys do the linkage." And as a result, the client gets really, we think, not only a smarter delivery, but a faster delivery and a more efficient delivery.
Now, come to the issue of the changing, the new realities. It requires different skill sets at the agency end and at the marketing company end. So do you think either agencies or marketing companies are coming up to speed on the new talent that they need?
I think so. I think the major agencies are clearly aware of these kinds of issues. We highlight them and can kind of dramatize the effect through the new realities research. But I think agencies are clearly aware that obviously the world's going digital, so we all have to respond to that. And it's not just a game of TV and radio anymore. We have to work very closely with social media. And social media is an interesting chapter because there's no like one solution with social media. It requires, I think, a very subtle and intelligent and sensitive treatment of it, so that you're not just paying people to deliver messages. The consumer will see through that, and increasingly is saying, you're challenging me on the trust front when I see that you're paying somebody to deliver a message for me through social media. So we have to be very smart and sensitive to stimulating conversations from real people to other real people.
One of the challenges in this world also is empowering the communication partners, because you need to respond often and create content in close to real time. So how does that work by your experience?
It does. So we've had to change our model in many ways. I mean, in many ways, the amount of labor we have to put into the delivery of communication services, per $1 million of spend is much greater. But again, that's what the consumer is asking for. So. And there's a great deal of letting go that we have to embrace. Years ago, the agency business controlled really all the messaging. It was all produced by us and pushed out to people. Increasingly, we're working with consumers, people who experience the products day to day, and hopefully enjoy the products, and encouraging them to become the media. And as they become the media, they're obviously a very efficient media, because in many ways it's free. And ironically and importantly, it's a very, very powerful media, because it's somebody who has personal experience with the product, who can talk to a friend and say, I like this product and you should give it a try. We're driving more and more towards that. But again, you have to be willing to let go, because you don't control that. And we have to resist the temptation to try to control that messaging and let the consumer have a natural conversation with other consumers who have experienced the product.
Right. You spoke a few minutes ago about the marketer needing to deal with sometimes 13, 14, 15 communication partners. Who's best placed to take care of business? Are the legacy agencies, the network agencies, nimble enough to do what David Droga can do, and so on?
Yeah, we have three major agency networks: Mullen-Lowe, McCann Erickson, and FCB, and these agencies are geared for that. But even our smaller agencies are increasingly geared for it. I think some of the very, very small agencies that are more boutique oriented probably are not geared, and that's fine. They'll sit in a boutique area, but increasingly clients just need to have. We've had clients that have come to us with 15 or 18 different marketing channels, and it's a special task. I mean, it requires a bit of a Renaissance kind of orientation to understand how best to coordinate. And it's not just a matter of bringing people together in a room and saying, guys, here's the strategy. But it's a matter of really stimulating the team to come up with the best single idea that can work across all the platforms, and also to work together well. And we take great pride in our public and our success with having these multi-agency teams that work well together. Clients aren't looking for trouble; they're looking for us to take trouble away. So our role is to work with these agencies to find a common messaging strategy and to amplify it through their various channels, and to work together, to share resources, to share assets, to share thinking, to share ideas. And when that's done well, it's a pretty powerful thing. So I think we're seeing increasingly, large agencies and holding companies are getting very, very good at doing this for clients.
Okay, wonderful. I'll be talking to you, and all the best for the rest of your trip to India.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Nice speaking with you.
In fact, what Terry says is so true. Consumers have become the media, and very, very powerful one. On this note, it is time for us to take a short break. When we return, we have an interesting walkthrough with V. Sunil, the man behind Make in India campaign.